Right, well, good morning, everybody. I've just seen the gameplay footage of the Resident Evil 2 remake. Now, for those who've seen my channel, there's been quite a few playthroughs of the A and B scenarios of the original game. I've got it on PlayStation, I've got it on Sega Dreamcast. I've played the GameCube ports, so I've played quite a lot of different versions of Resident Evil 2 in the classic mode. Now, this remake has been something that's been teased for a very, very long time. And I remember when Capcom passed the 20th anniversary, they celebrated with an admittedly awesome looking, but ultimately disappointing, liquor cake. I believe this project was pretty much dead in the water. Part of the reason being Final Fantasy VII's remake has gone so quiet and very little, apart from a couple of shots of Sid, has really emerged into what we're going to get. Boy, was I wrong! E3 had that amazing opening trailer with the perspective on the rat view, which made me think a lot about Resident Evil Code Veronica. For anyone who's played that game, you can get the infamous NIJ diary, which it turns out is the game's perspective from a rat. They have to think about rats, I guess. But needless to say, last night on the Sony PlayStation channel, I'm actually going to put a link in the description below, they had a proper more extended gameplay footage which showed what looked to be Leon Kennedy. He's got to the Raccoon Police Department, and it's essentially showing how he gets into the first part of the game. Now, there was a lot of really interesting things about this footage. For me, it looked like a cross between Resident Evil 4 and Leon's campaign from Resident Evil 6. Now, that might set alarm bells ringing immediately there, because you'll be thinking, oh, well, it's constant shoot everything like in Resident Evil 4, and constant QCE like in Resident Evil 6. No, it actually is not. It seems a lot more slow-paced, seems a lot more horror elements. So, for example, apart from a couple of rooms where they found power switches that allowed them to activate lights, a lot of it involved using the flashlight and the gun. Kind of like, the classic cop mentality, like that kind of posture. And the enemies actually looked great. They were proper zombies. There was no less plagas, none of that nonsense. And they did seem like enemies that were actually very powerful. There's one moment in the gameplay footage where two zombies corner the player, and it goes from fine to danger after literally, I think it's about 2 bites. So this is going back to Resident Evil Remake sense of hardcore. It sounds like this could be really, really hard. Also, do you just notice how I said it went from caution to danger? Yes, that's right. It even has the old ECG in orange and red. It is back. There is none of the little circle health that you get in Resident Evil 4 onwards. It's gone back to its roots with the caution and danger statuses. Excellent. The character models, there's been a bit of criticism of how Leon and Claire look, but as people have rightly pointed out in other videos and comments on other videos, it's when he's 21 years old. He's not at the Super Saiyan badass, I'll talk back to all the enemies thing that he did in Resident Evil 4, and he's certainly not gone into the brooding nature of the movies and the Resident Evil 6 as well. So this is very much Leon on his first day as a rookie. And he's not going to be a badass kicking out of the box because he's only out of the academy. So that's pretty good. Other things I liked about it was you could see where they've kept the game's original plots and mechanics, but updated them. For instance, one of the officers that Leon interacts early on, he finds a notebook with a diagram of the Queen statue, which then allows access to the car park via a secret passage. This is a take, of course, on Resident Evil 2's game, where you had to move 2 Queen statues to get one of the red jewels that activated the armor puzzle and allowed you to get either a chest plug if you were Leon, or part of one of the animal stones if you were Claire. There's also going to be completely separate campaigns for Leon and Claire. Claire, unfortunately, didn't appear in the gameplay footage. But the commentary from Capcom, who were there showing this off, actually said that there is going to be points where they interact. In the original Resident Evil 2, of course, there were moments where you'd play in the game and you'd either have the characters walk into the same room together and talk and then leave, Or, for instance, right at the end of the game, as Leon, in his B scenario, you come out of the power room where you've triggered what happens with Ada, and then Claire radios him in. As Claire, you see that moment of when he comes out on a monitor, and then she radios him to interact. I'm hoping it's going to be a little more in-depth than that, because that, while it was a nice little cameo crossover Easter egg, didn't really do much. It'd be nice to see a bit more of how each player impacts the game. And one thing that's got me thinking of that is a mechanic that was teased but not shown, which is apparently in the game, you're going to be able to find things to board up windows. So in the original game, like for example, if you get into the main corridor, between where you first interact with the liquor and then you go to the dark room, there's a point where there's loads of boards and arms go try and grab hold of you in the A scenario. In the B scenario, the boards break and enemies actually come into the hallway. Now, that hallway is shown, and for whatever reason, the player decides to shoot out the glass when the zombie's protected behind it and bring him inside. I don't know why. But it sounds to me like you'll be able to see windows like that and go, I'm boarding that up, that's an access point. And you can do it at your own will. It would be interesting where, for example, if they bring back the A and B scenario kind of concept, you're playing as Leon early on and you see one weak point in that corridor and you go, I'm boarding that one up. Boom, 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 boom. So for him, no one can get in. But if Claire's then behind him, in the story art-wise, like say she's about 20, 30 minutes behind in terms of getting to the police station, he's reinforced that one window that was exposed, so no one can get in there, but all the other boards are weakened and the zombies pinch in. I'm hoping that we'll see things like that, because that would be a really good example of how you can encourage and build a survival world. One of the jokes they made in the gameplay footage was that the original game featured no restrooms, as in no toilet cubicles. So they've actually made it so that there are some. Now that, I'm not quite sure what the idea of it is. I don't know if that's going to... In the demo, it had a first aid spray in there, as to say it's like an emergency, come and grab a first aid spray. I don't know if that's going to be a running gag, that wherever you end up, if there's a toilet, if you get in, you can find free health as a last resort. Or if it's just something they wanted to put in because they realised that for whatever reason, they'd mapped out car parks, cells, ammo rooms, break rooms, CCTV rooms, libraries, but not bothered to put any toilets in. And technically they're also wrong, because there is a toilet in the elevator car that goes between the factory and the laboratory. So they've even got that wrong. There is a toilet, just not in the police station. Anyway, so in short, what does this look like? It looks like a really good update. It looks to me like they've taken the engine of Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 6 kind of style and gone back to Resident Evil Remake. Now, if you played either the GameCube original of that or the recently released PS4, Xbox 360, no, Xbox One, sorry, Xbox One, HD remake of that game, you know how hard it is. That is not an easy game. This, if anything, looks like it could be in the same mold, so I'm personally very excited for it. And what surprised me most about this was when we'll get our hands on it. January 25th, 2019. So only 7 months. Now that's pretty unusual, considering that Squaresoft announced Final Fantasy VII Remake years ago. So Capcom, the fact you've kept this under wraps, well done to you. Please make this work. We've been overdue a really good classic set canonical Resident Evil. Do not disappoint. Oh, we'll send the workers on you.